Welcome everybody to today's episode of Talking Today's Challenges. Our guest today is Sarah Bentley. She's a play therapist, keynote speaker and trainer. And today we're going to be talking about how we can best support our kids going back to school, because obviously they've had an extended time off and there's been a lot of other things going on. So first of all, welcome to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much. Love to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. Very excited about this interview. If it's okay with you, I'll just dive in with a first question that quite a few parents have come to me with. And this is about how best to support our kids once they're back into school. There's obviously going to be lots of changes. Like, for example, I know with our school, they're going to be in what they call a little bubble. So they'll be with a group of kids and they might not be their friends. They may not be with their teacher. They may be with a different teacher. Movement, play might be restricted. Just a lot of changes. So it's not just going back to school. It's dealing with those changes once they're there. So what would you advise? What's the best way we can support our kids with that?
Okay, so the most important thing is that we as parents are positive about the return to school. So that whatever your school is doing, and many schools are sending out videos to their children or PowerPoint presentations showing the differences and the social distancing that we might see on the news. The most important thing is that we role model positivity about it. So things like, wow, look at the 2-metre line that the head teacher's put. Or wow, look at the way the classroom looks, rather than I wonder who you're going to sit next to. Because children take on our emotions and they catch those emotions from us. So the most important thing is being positive about it, even though we know that as parents there's going to be a little bit of anxiety of our own. We wouldn't be human if that wasn't the case. So it's really important that positivity is the first one. The second one is talk to your young people about the changes. And obviously people watching this video today are going to have children all across the age spectrum, from nursery reception right up through to A-level. So it's really important that we talk to them about it, and then we can use an expression which is so powerful to engage young people in speaking, which is, I wonder how, or I wonder if. And it may be that you actually turn it into a game and say, I'm wondering if we can guess what's going to be the same in your school, and I wonder if we can guess what's going to be different.
That.
From there, you can build that up and you can go, I'm going to have a point because I got it right that you had to be in a certain place and I got it wrong for whatever. And there can be prizes. Make it into as much fun as you can, but it's something to generate a talking conversation with your child or children. And it may be that you do it with each of your children if you have more than one, because obviously for every child it's going to be different. We're in that position at the moment where some families have got one young person going back to school and one person might be still at home. So it's very different for everybody at the moment. So maybe that you have that conversation with each person as that sort of comes up. So talking is really, really important too. And then the last thing I wanted to answer to this is about preparing them physically and emotionally. Now, as mums and parents and carers, we're really good at preparing our children from uniform to shoes to packed lunches. I've had a little client tell me this morning she's got a new pencil case to go back to school. All those things are really brilliant and really important. But there's also that emotional side that's really important. And I spoke right at the beginning about being positive. So maybe that you're going to have another conversation, which is, we've had a really fab, tricky, rubbish 12 weeks, and each family is going to be very different. I wonder how it feels going back to school after all this time. I wonder how that feels for you. And that change in tone in my voice, that change means the child will see that you're engaging with them, and that we're at a time where perhaps we're, again, just with one of our young people at a time, in order for them to really be able to feel that question. If we ask a direct question about our feelings, children will tend to close down. But if we use the I wonder expression again, I wonder how that feels going back to school after all this time. I wonder how that is. Then that question and that face will really open things up for them. So my 3 things about returning to school are that positive thing from us as parents, being really positive about what comes through us for us to share with them, talking about the changes and the little game that I mentioned, and then preparing them emotionally, and as we were just saying then, about being tricky and wondering, and obviously the physical preparations of the pencil cases. So there's lots there, but each family is different. And I also wanted to add that for every one of us deciding at this moment whether to send children back to school has got to be a personal decision, because every one of us has different circumstances at home. So it really is important that it sits comfortable with you as a family, first and foremost, and then that will carry through into your children.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, that last bit, because I think, it's hard, isn't it? It's, should I, shouldn't I? And yeah, I think I absolutely agree. It has to be what's best for your family, and that's going to be different.
Absolutely. And every single family is different. It doesn't matter how many children we have or which school they go to. It's our personal circumstances of who we have in our families, our extended family. Are we a carer for somebody else? Have we got grandparents or children with needs? So it's absolutely important that every one of us is okay to make a decision for what's right for our family. And it is our family only at this point, because obviously we're still in the social distancing. And if we know it's right for us with the circumstances that we're faced with for us, then that being positive about it will be much easier for us as adults, and then it'll be much easier for the child moving forward.
Yeah, brilliant. And some brilliant tips there. Love those. Love them.
Good.
All right. It's really helpful for me too. Okay, the next question is from one of our group members, Lisa. And Lisa has asked, do you think starting back on a reduced timetable might benefit children that were already struggling with going into school even before lockdown?
So most schools, certainly at the moment, and certainly as we're recording this, are returning on a reduced timetable, and it is a heavily reduced timetable. So locally here, we've got some schools who are only going in 2 days a week, even if you're reception year 1 and year 6. And we have some schools going in just for a couple of mornings. It is very school dependent. And hearing the news this morning, we feel that this afternoon Boris will be making more announcements about schools, but there certainly isn't any notification about changing to going back to school further. So we also heard on the news this morning that they had wanted to get all year groups back in before the summer holiday, and at the moment that isn't looking like that's going to happen. So as we record this, that isn't looking like it. So with a young person with what we might call separation anxiety even before lockdown, all that I just mentioned in my first answer is absolutely imperative for that young person. So the 3 things I mentioned in answer to the first question that we've just done. So I don't know the age of the child of this lady who's asked this question. So I'm going to just talk as a general, and if she would like to contact me directly, she's more than welcome. The first thing is role play going into school. So a few days before or the day before you'll know your child best, I want you to get not your coat, but your handbag or whatever you would get if you were leaving the house, and you would get his or her school bag, and you would role play for walking to school. You could even walk up to the gate if you wanted to, and then you would talk about what happens when you say goodbye. So when the young person gets into school, I assume through a gate or a door, and then mum, I'm assuming if mum is Lisa, would then go off to go back home, or she might be going to work. It would depend on whether she has other children, etc. So the most important thing is that you role play it and talk about it. So we're walking to school. I'm going to say goodbye to you when we get there. Your teacher's going to be there. You're going to put your coat here. Your lunchbox is going there. And then we're going to say goodbye. And then you'll do your kiss goodbye, hug goodbye, whatever your language in your own family is. But mummy is going to go home, or mummy's going to work. But mummy will be back here at 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30, whatever the timing of the session is. So it's really important that the young person knows what time mummy or whoever is picking up at that point. Now, there's a really good CBeebies program that does this really well about talking about what happens to the adults when the children go to school or nursery. And it's the CBeebies program called Me Too, or I prefer to call it just Granny Murray, because Granny Murray looks after the children. Lots of you will remember this. You can still get it on iPlayer. And every so often there's a cut in the story, as I'm sure lots of you will remember, where they go to the adult. So there's an adult who's a doctor, there's an adult who's a taxi driver, there's an adult who's a school teacher. And it helps the children understand that even when you're apart, that we do think of each other. And as parents, we obviously know that we do that, but children don't always know that we do. So it's a lovely thing to watch, no matter what episode. They're all absolutely beautiful. And I would recommend sitting down with your young person, watching it together and talking through what happened. And you might want to do that before you go to the role play. so that then you can say, oh, Granny Mary does this or Granny Mary does that. And it's just a beautiful way of talking about separation anxiety with a child without using the words. And the last thing I would suggest for today, because obviously these young people have been home for a very long time, longer than there ever will have been previously, and fingers crossed ever hope they are in the future. So the lovely thing to do is that when you're on the actual day where he's actually going to go back to school and you're actually going to say goodbye, is to put on some lipstick and get a lovely fresh tissue that I've just taken out of the box. Literally, the box is here. And you would put on some lipstick and you would fold it in half and you would kiss the tissue. So I'm going to do that. Like so. Oh, it's not too dark. So there we go. Just there. You can just see very pale. You would want to make it much brighter than that. You'd want to make it much brighter. And then you would say, so you're doing this in front of your young person, and you would then say, and there's a kiss from Mummy, and I'm going to fold it really carefully. And you're going to fold it into three, fold it really carefully so the kiss stays inside. And I'm going to fold up that edge, and I'm going to fold up that edge. And then I wonder where you'd like to keep Mummy's kiss while you go back to school today. Now, this is a parent warning. If you want to put it in a pocket, that's perfect, but don't put it in the washing machine. It does make a bit of a mess. But put it in a pocket. For some children, they like it to go inside their top.
Yeah.
Children want it in their pocket. Some children a back pocket. One young gentleman wanted it in his waistband of his trousers so that he could feel Mummy's kiss. Oh. And do you know what? Your young person can give you a kiss back, because that day where our young people go back to school is equally emotional for us mums and dads and parents as it can for young people. So they can do one back for you, and then you're going to keep it in your next to your heart or in your handbag or wherever you want to keep it. And then when you come home, you can get your hearts back out and just say how lovely it was to have a heart with you or a kiss with you during the day. So a lipstick kiss is what I have all parents and carers doing these. But as I say, the only warning is the washing machine.
Yes.
But the actual thing that it does is beautiful, and the children love it. They absolutely love it. So a lipstick kiss is something else to help with separation anxiety.
I love the idea. Love it. And it's so simple, and it's so easy for kids to carry. You know, like you say, pop in their pocket or anywhere. It's not a toy. It's not going to be taken away.
Even you can even have one in their uniform, and I know actually lots of schools aren't wearing uniform at the moment, but or anywhere on them, or you know, you can pop another one in their lunchbox, because most children seem to be having packed lunches at the moment as well. So you can have another one in there, or a little note which is at lunchtime, I hope you're having a lovely day, or I'm missing you, on a little post-it note sort of thing. It's absolutely beautiful and just makes children have a little smile. So that's another little idea there for you. That's
wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. And the last question is from one of our group members, Nadia. And Nadia asks, how do I support a 12-year-old child that was already diagnosed with severe anxiety and depression before lockdown? And she also mentions that her child has already been showing some regression. Just talking about going back to school is triggering her anxiety.
Yeah, okay. So, what I don't know, Nadia, is obviously, is your daughter going back to school in one of these? Because in some areas there are talk of some children going back. I'm assuming that generally, because she's 12, she's probably not. But again, if that's incorrect, please just direct message me and we can talk further. So on the assumption that she's not going to be back at school before September.
Also, sorry, Sarah, just to say, I'm not sure where she's based. So it's because it's I love about this, we have a global community.
Okay.
So she actually could be, yes.
Okay. So if I do that, she's not going back to school, because in the UK she probably isn't. But if anybody wants to direct message me, that's absolutely fine. Okay. So if I give the answer that she's not going back to school until September, then we go from there. Okay. So if she's not, then the most important part is to tell her that she's not, and to mark it on a calendar or on your phone the day that we think she should be going back to school. And obviously that is slightly movable, especially in the UK at the moment, but is to physically get her to write and to see. So if you're doing it on your phone, you would type in the beginning of September, first, whichever the date is, back to school, and you would show her how long in advance that is. So we're only in June, so we've got June to July, July to August, August to September. And by getting her to do that physically means that she can absolutely see how many weeks in advance that is. Now, I'm also assuming that she's probably been having some homework being sent to school, because most of the schools in the UK are still doing that, and I guess worldwide. So if she is having to do homework, then you minimise the homework time. I always recommend that you put something on even if the children are doing homework in the dining room or the kitchen table, that you put a mat on the table which signifies homework. So, it could be a piece of newspaper, it could be wrapping paper. It's anything that you guys have got at home, and you put that on the table while homework is being done. As soon as homework is finished for the day or the week, the piece of paper or the mat is folded away and put out of sight so that it can't be seen, along with school books, school bags, school pencil cases, all of those things. We're going to put them out of sight. We're also going to put big school bags and uniform out of sight, and I would, for some families, that is even out of wardrobes, out of the young person's wardrobe, to literally hide it so that there's nothing of school in your house. So the mat on the dining room table is the way of just getting around that for homework as we are at the moment. So what we're doing is we've actually parked school away on the calendar of the phone. We know it's not going to happen, and we've moved everything physical in the house to make that emotional space for you. So the next thing to do is enjoy as much as you can the lockdown. Now, in lockdown, there has been lots of opportunity. We've had lovely weather in the UK. There's been lots of opportunity. So in lockdown, it would be to look at, and the time that you've got now between from here and going back to school, perhaps some stories. And it may be that you say to this young lady, I wonder how you felt when it happened, those sorts of conversations. But there are also some beautiful, beautiful books, and I brought some to show you. So this one is called What Do You Do With the Problem? And it's absolutely lovely. The pictures inside are absolutely exquisite, and you can see inside. I can show you one because it might not come over too clearly. The pictures are beautiful, and it just talks through that for sometimes a problem becomes really, really big. Sometimes we have to face the problem, and the problem actually becomes very different and becomes much more manageable. And for very often, when we think there's a problem, inside that outside case of the problem is something that's inside and golden and beautiful, and becomes, for some, it becomes an opportunity, or those sorts of things. So sharing a book like this away from school would be absolutely lovely to do. And I think it's a book that even a 12-year-old would love, because the pictures, as I say, are just exquisitely drawn. And it really is a book for every age. I've absolutely loved reading that one.
Yeah,
that's one about that's one about facing the problem. Then another book, and again, there's loads on the market. These are just off my bookshelf here, called A World of Pause Abilities. We so often don't pause enough, and that comes into our mindfulness and our yoga and those sorts of things. So it may be that a new skill for lockdown for this family, and you may be doing it, would be to look at those pauses and those mindful activities as mindfulness. So thinking about our senses, thinking about calmness, colourings. There's lots of Zentangle things on the market at the moment as well. So that's another lovely book to help us remember and think about how it is important to pause as well as just to be doing lots of different things. That's another beautiful book. And then I know this young lady is 12, but I think it's really important across the age range from childhood to adulthood to just remember how much we love, how much they're loved. And I think that becomes a really important story. And these are the books that we can say as parents and carers. Do you remember when you were little? You used to love that book, and I had to read it 20 times a night. It's that sort of conversation. And the next one is No Matter What, that we love, that this young person has loved no matter what. And I think that's another one that we can bring in as when you were small, those sorts of things. So those are really good. And then on a slightly older level, there's a whole series of books called Can I Tell You About? Okay. And this one, obviously, I've chosen about anxiety, and they're written from a young person's perspective. Part of the book is from a younger child, and part of the book is from an early teens. And it just talks about how that anxiety feels for them. And that, again, would be a really good book to share with the young person and to say, is this how you feel? And that really helps me understand how things are. So that might be another book that might be useful as well. I thought that would be useful on the theme of anxiety to actually show some books that could be useful for parents and carers too. So then when you get back to school, and we're now jumping all the way forward until the assumption of September, there are so many things that schools are doing, and the guidance in the UK is very powerful, and from the government and from local authorities, and it talks hugely about mental health of young people going back to school.
Yeah.
So you're more than welcome to download that guidance and actually see what the schools are being asked to do. You're more than welcome to do that for each of your, or any of your areas where any of you are. But it could be that you also speak to schools. So it could be that the tutor in a secondary school sends a video to his or her tutees and welcomes them back. It could be that many schools are doing videos to show the young people what's different, as I mentioned right at the beginning of the first question. So if the information that's not coming out from school doesn't suit your daughter, then please do feel free to speak to either their tutor or their special needs coordinator, somebody in the school, to ask those questions. Because none of us have lived this before, schools are doing their absolute best. But do you know what? They might not have just got that side of it. So most of our schools are so grateful when parents say, "Oh, could you just help me with that?" Or "My daughter or son needs this. Could you just help me with that?" Most of our schools have been really, really grateful for those questions. So those are the things that can happen. Obviously, we're going to do the the physical checklist of uniform and those things. But it is important to work with the school when we get back to it. And again, tying into the second question, it may be that is also a part-time timetable. We just don't know all those facts at the moment. So there's quite a lot of things that are still moving. So as I've said all the way through, if anybody wants to direct message me at any point moving forward, you are more than welcome to do so, because every family is different, every school is different, and all of our young people are the most amazing individuals. And it will affect every one of them in a very different way. Yeah. And that's also really important to hold on to, that we're all individuals, adults, and our little young people are too. And that individuality is what we're celebrating and making sure that we're doing everything we can for all of them.
They were just amazing tips. That is just some wonderful advice there, Sarah. Thank you so much. I'm going to have to watch this all again myself. It's really, really helpful. And I have no doubt that everybody watching this is going to find it really, really helpful. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for us. It's been lovely
really chat. Appreciate it. And just let everybody know who's watching. Sarah does have her own practice here in the UK. But as I think we've all been moving now to online, haven't we? So, I'm sure it doesn't matter where in the world you are, it's okay for them to contact you, isn't it, Sarah?
Absolutely, yeah. And, absolutely, either through your page, whichever's easiest.
That's right. I mean, Sarah's in our group, so delighted to have her. So initially you can just message her from there and take it from there. So that's great. Thank you once again. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
That's okay. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, see you.